Who's?
I guess it's me. We're here now.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't discuss that. Who's heading this one off?
Pre-production. It's an ensemble, much like this episode. We're all hosting this one. But welcome, everyone. I'm back. I'm back from my hiatus for working for the man for free. But it was a free experience and I had a good time. But this is Fandom Spotlite presents the Book of maybe Boba Fett. Is it really his book at this point anymore?
It's Book of Boba Fett with an asterisk.
The Book of Bounty Hunters. That's what I'm just gonna call it at this point. But we had episode 6, so there's a lot to unpack here. Not much of it has anything to do with the Fett man himself. But we're just gonna dive right in. So just general thoughts on the episode. Jerry, gonna go last because I know you got some takes. I feel like you feel like I feel. Princess Leia herself in all her glory. Skywalker heavy episode.
Okay, I'm gonna say this right now though. I planned on doing this last week before I even saw the episode. It just all worked out perfectly. And no, there was no Princess Leia. God rest her soul. Rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. But we did get Mr. Skywalker, Luke Skywalker himself. And it was fabulous and I loved it. And I mean, who knew the show was good when you really have no Boba Fett in it? So.
Thanks. The man with the plan and all the knowledge, Mr. Mike Campbell himself. How'd you feel about this episode, good brother?
Oh, as a good friend once told me, Lucasfilm just cannot help themselves. Glad to see Mr. Skywalker back.
Dave Filoni can't help himself.
Training our favorite little green guy, you know. I mean, we got the color scheme right, but maybe not so much the character in the title card.
Love it. And then my brother in confusion on how we feel about this episode.
Man,
so tell the people what you know.
It's a complex issue for me. Like for me, literally this episode is the rise of Skywalker of like Star Wars TV shows to me. Like it is a cluster. It's a big ass mess and stuff. I enjoyed it. I'm criticizing the hell out of it, but I had a good time. But I was like walking away from it going like, that was fun, but I have issues. So
yeah,
that's me.
I'm with you. And I kind of want to start this off a bit different because as we've kind of alluded to a lot, the last 2 episodes have done little to nothing to do with Boba Fett, the titular character of the show. He wasn't even in episode 5. And then he was in 6 with no dialogue now whatsoever. Very little, just a head nod.
Man, Grogu had more dialogue in this one.
He did.
You could argue that he's being true to character by only head nodding. But
also true. So where I want to start, I did want to start with Timothy Oliphant and all his Cobb Vanthiness. But since we all seem to be very conflicted, what is this show now? Because you know it was pitched as a show to like bring Boba Fett and all his glory to the front and center, because you know he was a cult favorite character who had all of like 1 minute and 6 seconds of screen time in return, and this was like his moment, and that's kind of how it started.
It was.
So Joel, I'll let you start. What is this show now? Where are we?
It's the Cleveland show of the Star Wars universe. He got his own
Cleveland Brown.
He got his own spinoff where he got to go do his own thing and set up his own little home, and he's got kids now, and it's, you know, and then, you know, it wasn't testing well, so let's bring back Peter Griffin. And they did.
I don't know what to say to comparing Mandalorian to Peter Griffin, but okay.
No, but yeah, but you get what I'm saying. Like
I understand what you're saying.
It's what it really is a spinoff to help move the plot along, and it's moving the plot along with a fan favorite character. I don't think this was a necessary move on their part if this is how this is going, but it's what they're doing, and I'm enjoying it. It's just I'm enjoying it with a side eye.
Yeah, Mike, I'll let you kind of jump. Yeah, the Finnick look, exactly. Mike, I'll let you jump in. I'll kind of throw you the oop because we were talking about it earlier. I said, as a Star Wars episode, I loved it. It was like a love letter to fans. Well, as a Book of Boba Fett episode, worst episode of the season, because like Joe was saying, it is setting. It seems like the last episode and this episode, they're setting up the next season of Mandalorian. They're like, hey, we're gonna have so many episodes. Let's build the world here so we can just jump into it there. And Mike, I know you were saying that you think that this was always the plan because a lot of this shot was ahead of time. Kind of elaborate on that, good sir.
Yeah, so I do think that Lucasfilm learned a lot from barely planning out the sequel trilogy, that they've kind of adjusted their TV strategy quite a bit. This is definitely done purposely by them. Joe, your criticisms are absolutely valid. I think that, you guys are certainly entitled to your opinions. And I even said, I went on record last week saying, I made sure to make it a point, if this doesn't affect Boba's story, then I think it is impartial, a failure to put it in this show. And I think we have to kind of keep that in mind as we move forward. That being said, now I'm starting to feel that season 2 is much more of a possibility because we've spent so much time away from the titular character.
It's possible. Maybe, I don't know. Like there's the talk about this being his redemption arc a lot of people have brought that up, maybe not us talking about it, but I know there's a lot of criticism online, and not negative criticism necessarily, that this is supposed to be like Boba's redemption arc and being the hero. And there's always one way to go with a redemption arc, and it's going out. And if we don't get a second season, that's probably going to be why.
I could definitely see. Jazz, were you about to say something?
No, but I mean,
good answer.
Before we dive into it, Jazz, how would you feel about a lot of big names were pushed into this episode? How would you feel if the final episode just completely closed off some character arcs for these guys?
I mean, it would be a nice send off for them because we don't really. I'm not really sure of the plan for the next Star Wars story films or whatever, because we've had 9 films. I mean, it would be nice to get some closure, I'll say. But I'm here for the ride. I've luckily enjoyed the last 2 episodes, and I have no idea what's going to happen, but I'm so here for it. Especially Grogu. I can't wait to see what happens with that, but we'll get there soon.
We're on the way there. I was saying to Mike before we got on the call that it's feeling like it's a anthology series, and how they just called it the Book of Bounty Hunters, and each episode or couple episodes focused on a group. I'd have been all right with that.
The Book of Tatooine.
Cool.
Yeah, the book of because they could have
Freetown. Get that right.
Well, Tatooine is a planet. I'm not talking about Mos Pelgo over here.
We can get the Book of Freetown next
Book of Freetown. That's probably next week.
Look, it's really sad too, because there's always the longest time where people would just shit on Tatooine. They're the worst Star Wars movies are the ones where they spend a lot of time on Tatooine or whatever, or the more time you're on a desert planet, the worse the movie is, or some shit like that.
Why do you think they changed the name of their little town now? Because of that reason.
I'm just saying. But I would say that at the very least, this breaks that trend, because maybe it's not the best of the Star Wars series, because of the live action alone, the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian have been significantly better than Book of Boba Fett. But the Book of Boba Fett's better than the prequels. I enjoy it more. It's dumb and ridiculous, but it's dumb and ridiculous in pretty great ways, and it introduces stuff to us about the universe that we never get to see, and it did it better than the prequels did.
No, yeah, I definitely love that. And a crazy wild parallel. I don't know if any of you are fans of, or for anybody watching is fans of Once Upon a Time. Used to love that show. But I think it was the 2nd or 3rd season when Henry got kidnapped. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, you're a dickhead.
we're past.
It's been over for how long now?
So long. But when he got kidnapped by Peter Pan, more spoiler if you didn't see it, you're a dickhead. And they took him to Neverland. They spent 36 episodes on Neverland, and I was sick of it. I was like, yo, let's go back to Storybrooke. I'm done with Neverland. That's how I'm feeling about Tatooine.
I'm not going to say nothing. This isn't the Once Upon a Time channel. I'll just zip it. We'll talk.
No, we're here. The inmates are running the
I think I made it to 2 seasons, and I'm like, no, I can't do it anymore.
Look, I get the idea that I want to go to other planets, but at least to an extent, they're making Tatooine interesting more than it was.
Building it. Exactly.
Yeah, it actually feels like a world, not just a set dressing.
Mm.
That's true. And I also have bad news for you, Matt, because Obi-Wan's definitely going to have a hefty mouth.
Oh yeah, I know.
Oh yeah,
I know. I absolutely know. So I'm like, I'm sick of this planet. I hate sand. I'm sick of this planet now.
It's so
that's
sandy.
cool. That's cool. You know what? He's just gonna move to Jakku. That's all it is.
No,
everyone always want to go back to Jakku.
But we do get a break. Well, I guess we can talk about Cobb Vanth and Timothy Oliphant and all his scarecrowy glory. Gets a pretty cool sheriff western busting scene. We see some spice being ran. I'm gonna just say this: if this underplot of Spice, I'm kind of hating because it's just Dune is so fresh from being removed from the theaters that them just being so gung ho like Spice traded. Oh, don't run Spice through my town. And I was just like, all right, we all know Star Wars was run off the back of Dune, but I was just like, it's too soon.
It's not just that. It's like Star Wars has the least interesting drug names. It's spice and death sticks. Like,
yeah, you do not want to sell me death sticks.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. You can come up with all these freaking aliens and shit, but you can't come up with a more interesting name for your drugs.
I mean, that's fair.
Like, I know.
The spice in Dune has like a legitimate purpose. The spice in like
right.
Star Wars is like
the
fentanyl of
I was
the Star Wars world.
Do you mean opens the consciousness to new possibilities? Because that's all melange does as well.
I don't think it's folding space here.
If you're on enough spice, you might be.
You just might be. I can only imagine the writer's room is like, yo, we need a name for this drug. How about spice? So it's like, that sounds real familiar. No. No one's used that before.
Don't worry about it.
Let's call it spice.
Don't think about it.
So we kind of did anybody else get like crazy junkie vibes from Kyle when he like kicked the spice over and let it blow in the wind? He looked like he was like having withdrawals. He was like,
more of that spice.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time a pop culture science fiction show made commentary on things like the opioid epidemic in a not so subtle way.
Very true.
Cobb called his sponsor. He's like, yo, you'd be proud of me. Guess what I did?
I just let the spice flow.
It is kind of funny how like the spice like mirrors the sand on Tatooine though, and like it was like a cool visual, but I get it. It's kind of like felt forced.
Yeah, so no, super duper forcey. Well, see what I did there? Did that by accident.
There's so much feeling forced in this episode.
So much forced feeling in this episode. So we get off Tatooine for a little bit. Thank God. And is there a name of the planet?
No, actually, I looked it up. I did some deep dives. I tried to find in like the Rise of Kylo Ren comic when he.
Because I don't even think that's the same planet that they end up staying on for the school.
Really?
I think it is
possibly
it's
okay.
Very, very.
I mean, they are building the school.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean there's still like 30 years before that happens. That could be like, true. They could find out something terrible is going on that planet. It looks like, well, this is a bad place.
Location. So speaking of deep research, that deep fake guy is earning his paycheck because
100%.
That Luke Skywalker deep fake looked amazing compared to the Mandalorian.
But it's amazing what
that
1
was
year
like Robert Downey Jr. level in Civil War type of deep fake right there.
That's a beautiful
pretty
comparison.
Close.
And it's just awesome how like that guy, how he got the job, like because the job was so piss poor from Mandalorian season 2. He's just like, oh, let me just kind of do this and show it what it really could look like. And it was just like, I want that guy.
It's the equivalent
I think it goes to show. Sorry, go ahead.
It's the equivalent of it's equivalent of a hacker getting hired by the government because he broke into the Pentagon or some shit like that.
You mean all government employees?
Yeah, essentially, right?
I was going to make a Criminal Minds reference right there, but never mind.
So
that's also
I mean that is kind of how they hire the hiring process. That was pretty legitimate in that show. But it's Lucasfilm, like, and ILM specifically, it's funny because they did that whole Disney Gallery Mandalorian thing where they go through like the technology behind it, and the guy that they had doing the deep faking originally is like, he's a high up at ILM, and for him to just step down and be like, we're gonna go get somebody, kind of shows like their testament to them really pushing technology as far as it can go in this medium.
And ILM has always been very professional about that kind of stuff. Like they're like, no, if we spot something that's going to work better, then we're going to use what works better.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's nice seeing smart people make smart decisions, I guess.
It doesn't happen very much. It does not happen very much.
Earth, am I right?
What a wasted planet. Let's go to Tatooine.
Red Rock. No.
Backtrack thousands of years. Some caveman's just like humanity.
Not such a bad idea.
Actually, hear me out, guys. Maybe we won't go to Tatooine. But how about Jakku? I mean,
all the salvage, all the salvage we could dream of.
Right. Absolutely. So we're on the unnamed planet where Luke's school may or may not be the one from The Last Jedi. We'll just say it is, just for the sake of us not frying our brains on it. And we get some pretty cool ant droid action.
I did love those androids.
That I thought was pretty dope.
I screamed when I saw R2. I was like, yes.
Absolutely. Part of me kind of felt like from last week's episode, I knew it was coming, but this was such like the reunion that didn't happen, but it was like such a major plot point that I thought that they would have did it in Mandalorian season 3. I get why they did it here, but I was kind of surprised. Like when, the end of episode 5, he's like, I got to go see, a little friend. I was like, all right, maybe that's, and me and Mike had talked about it. Like, why would he bring that up if there's like this pending battle? Like, is he going to leave and come back? Which is exactly what he did.
Yeah.
my man I was just not expecting it. I just, from a narrative standpoint, like it would have made sense to be like, okay, this can happen in Mando. Like you can see in Mando season 3.
It's not just that it happened. It's that so much of this episode was it happening.
Yeah.
Like, that's what bothers me. Like, it's just, we are 3 steps removed from the point of this show now. Like I could tolerate the following Mando last week because it's a direct correlation. They're both Mandalorians. They work together already. But now we're having this whole like come to Jesus moment where he goes to see Grogu. And it's just like, what is this show anymore? Like, I don't.
Yeah.
It's not the Book of Boba Fett. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, but we still don't know like where these storylines are going to like pull things in, because honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I would love to see Boba and Luke reluctantly have to work together for some reason down the road somewhere. But it's right now we can criticize as much as we want, but I've seen them play the long game before, and I think that like they have a vision, especially Filoni. Like there were 8 like different arcs in the Clone Wars that you never thought were going to come to a head together, but ended up doing so. So maybe we just got to let this breathe for a little bit.
Sure.
I know that I'm pushing back on it, but it does feel like weird. Like, why are we spending so much time here in this episode?
It's not that I don't think it's a good idea. I just think it's not handled well so far. That's my big issue. Like, I feel like they're trying to get it started too quickly and like setting up for arcs that are going to happen when they could wait to set those arcs up, if that makes sense.
No, and it's funny, Joe, that you had made like the Dungeons and Dragons reference on or off camera. I don't know. Life blends together at this point on Thursday.
I'm so tired.
But it's just like, I feel like they know, to your reference, that the heart and soul of Mandalorian is Grogu and Din's relationship.
Yeah.
And they were just like, hey, why waste 3-4 episodes of season 3 reuniting them when we could just steal from Boba Fett and do it here and then pick back up on the show with them being reunited again.
It feels like such a gamble though. And I don't know.
Will they be? We don't really know yet, do we?
True. I feel like it's implied.
There's some pretty heavy symbolism with the whole way the episode ends too, that like
the mithril rags.
Like, if they are stretching it out into Book of Boba Fett, I mean, at least they're taking a little more time with it, as opposed to the way shows like Titans handle what should be a very long departure from a character before we come back to them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The whole Death of a Family Red Hood episode. It was one episode.
And that should have been like something that you came back to like a whole season later.
That should have been the season.
Yeah.
Like, essentially, it was one episode. But speaking of little Grogu, we do get confirmation that Grogu was part of Order 66. And Luke's like, hey, let me help you remember your trauma and bring this back up. And we see some Jedis defending. We wonder why Ben turned to the dark side. Luke gonna get to the best start as a teacher. So we see Order 66 going on. Any thoughts on how we think Grogu got out of that? Because all we see is a bunch of stormtroopers kind of killing some Jedis, 3 of them to be exact, defending him. And it seems like he's kind of like peeking out through a thing. Like when it went through like his eyesight, it seemed like he was kind
It
of like,
also looked like one of the stormtroopers, clone troopers, whatever they were at that point, spotted him.
yeah.
And they were descending on him.
Does anybody have any theories on? Go ahead, Mikey.
I got some canon connections and some theories here.
Give
One
it to
of the
us.
Jedi we see get gunned down is Sindralik, who is the temple like chief of security, clearly not doing a good job. And at this moment in time, and knowing some of the Jedi who survived during Order 66, I'm gonna pull a weird one out of the comics here, but Jocasta Nu, who was like the librarian from Attack of the Clones, is someone I could definitely see shuttling Grogu out. But you also have to remember there are a ton of Jedi who are off-world during this specific event.
Straight up dying.
Yeah.
Just
So there's a lot of people that like are automatically off the table here. I've seen a few people throw out R2, but I just highly doubt that he was there at the temple during Order 66.
Didn't he? Wasn't he with Luke? Didn't Luke was like stay with the ship?
What do you
when
mean?
he like went back to the? I'm not
So
sorry.
that's when Anakin's at Mustafar, but
oh,
not at
when
the temple.
When the sack of the temple, that was
when Anakin brings the 501st to the temple, I don't think R2's with them.
Okay, because I remember there was a scene in Revenge of the Sith where he does pull up somewhere. He's just like R2, stay with the ship.
Yeah.
Okay, because I had read that too. That when they go through like Grogu's perspective, it's like he's peeking through something, and people are saying like, oh, like what if he's in like R2's hall? Because R2 being Anakin's droid, the stormtroopers, I guess at that time their name changed real quick. They had that meeting on the way to the temple. We're stormtroopers now. That they would have been like, oh, that's our guys droid. Let's just walk past them. I also saw a crazy fan theory that Disney being Disney and wanting to like have forever star power, that Mace Windu survived the fall from Sidious and he crawled his crispy self back to the temple.
Now, I'm not questioning the fall. If Maul can do it, Mace motherfucking Windu can.
Right.
It's the crawling back to the temple with no arms.
He had one.
Missing one. He's got one.
Okay, I thought he lost both. My bad.
He got the one shot though. So I had someone that made a joke. They was just like, oh, Marvel, Disney, they probably got it in his contract like a Star Wars clause.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if we need you, him and Amelia Clark, if we need you,
there's probably not even a clause. They're probably just like, hey, want to come back? And he's like, fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
He has bad motherfucker carved into his lightsaber. He's coming back.
I have my own personal theory, and I have seen a second theory. The theory I saw online is that they think it was Boba.
Okay, that was what I was gonna say. But,
okay.
Because I was gonna say, what I was gonna say was this is a stretch, but to tie it into being the Book of Boba Fett, I was like, what if it's Boba Fett?
Yeah. And the way they put it together, when I saw the theory online, someone else was putting it. They suggested that like he was working for Palpatine at the time, because I don't know as much about the series and don't know the timeline of what Boba Fett was doing during Order 66. But he was working for Palpatine. Palpatine was like, all right, there's going to be a bunch of chaos at the temple and like a bunch of Jedi dying, but go save this one Jedi so I can go get genetic material from him. Because we know Palpatine's into some cloning shenanigans and would love a powerful clone body. And what's more powerful than whatever species Yoda's from?
That's actually, I like that actually. I'm not mad at that.
And by a similar fashion, my thought was like maybe it was Anakin that got him out of there for the very same reason that Palpatine told him, like, go kill all the other younglings, but spare that one because that kid's cool.
Yeah, I like that one too. I'm kind of on board for both of those.
I'm here for like literally anything as long as it makes sense, like story-wise.
The
those two sound way more fun than anything I was thinking of. So yeah, let's go.
The follow-up to it is that like A, Grogu of course didn't really have all his memories back yet, but B, if you trace it, Boba Fett and Grogu were never in the same scene together. Because by the time they were taking the bridge of Moff Gideon's ship, Boba Fett was out in his fire spray somewhere, like flying around, taking out fighters or something. I don't think he was on the ship when like Luke boarded and took Grogu.
And he was in that like crazy force meditation on Tython in the big like blue beam while they're all like fighting the stormtroopers down on the bottom of the hill. So
Yeah.
it could be plausible that like, this thing isn't connecting in. And I feel like they were aware of the child. And I don't ever remember Fennec being aware of Grogu, like in the Mandalorian season 2.
She shouldn't have been. Well, okay, season 2, I don't know.
Well, season 1 still, she gets offed before they even make it back to Pelly's hangar.
Right.
I do have a point about the flashback from like a story
Fennec
standpoint.
wasn't on the ship when Luke showed up. She wasn't in that room.
I don't think so.
Moff Gideon and them?
I think it was literally just the 4 of them.
Fennec she's with the strike team, like with Bo-Katan and Cara Dune and all them.
Yeah,
but
I feel like I remember seeing her there.
But that doesn't mean that she would know. Like they're aware of the child, but that doesn't mean that Grogu and Boba necessarily made the connection that would have triggered Grogu's memory.
Oh, to say like,
if Boba didn't see him, he wouldn't have remembered either. Like the child, there's tons of children out there, man.
Yeah. And then he got snatched by those robots, and they like up in the sky by the time they had kind of finished with all the so that checks out. That tracks. It definitely tracks.
That bounty hunts.
The flashback. I've seen a lot of people criticize like, why would you show him that? Like this, like bringing up this trauma is not like fair to the character. But I do think that it's important. A big part of being a Jedi is facing your fears.
Oh yeah.
And what is Grogu more afraid of than that like traumatic experience of just like watching everyone he knows be gunned down like around him? I think it's why he saves Din in the first place in the beginning of Mando, and then towards the end of season 1 of Mando, he even protects like Carl Weathers' crew, like Greef Karga's crew and all them. Like he does what he can in that moment to make sure that what he can do to help, he's doing, even though it's kind of like a latent force ability.
Yeah, and this is like jumping super far ahead, and we'll touch on it more because it was like literally the end of the episode. But it's like if you really think about it, the last time that Grogu has seen a lightsaber was at Order 66. So when like Luke presents him with that, he's like, "Yo, get that shit away from me, dog!" No, I don't want that. So it's like that kind of when we'll get to predictions of what he think happened. But I think like him still being so traumatized from that moment. He's just like, "Oh, I just have pain connected with this order." Like, pun intended, unintentionally. So it's just like, nah. It's just like, y'all didn't do the best job last time.
That's a good argument for saying that he chooses to go back with Mando.
Right exactly. Oh, totally. I mean, and if we're being honest, like we're talking,
y'all don't really protect us too well.
we're seeing currently like untraumatized Luke, or only mildly traumatized Luke. Not.
I mean, I kind of got like some dark Luke vibes off of him.
Sure.
Not completely dark, but
he's in therapy. He's in therapy. He's dealing with some things.
He's trying to be a better Luke every day.
Was this before or after he kissed his sister? That's what I want to know.
Twice.
Still technically after.
Twice.
Yeah, twice.
2 times they kissed.
And I think
one for each twin. Mwah, mwah.
Yep. But this goes into a really interesting, like, I think, comparison of his character is like Luke should not be the person reviving the Jedi Order. If anyone of the 2 people that were on the planet, because we also didn't bring up that Ahsoka was there, which as awesome as that little reunion or that meeting should have been, it was wildly underwhelming. And that's part of my problem with it.
That was literally my next point at how big of a moment Ahsoka and Luke
should have
been.
Yeah.
It's like one, her skin regimen is amazing because she hasn't aged a day. Yeah. Like her whole line about being an old family friend, that was hilarious. Like,
that was good. I liked that. But the idea that like that she's there and he's there, and like even when he was at his worst, like the pain that Vader was putting everyone through was hurting Ahsoka, and you could see it. But to see what Luke has become and the kind of person he's become, like there's no hesitation of her being like, your dad, when I knew him would have been proud of what you are and who you are, and there's none of that. And I think that's like, for all the fan service this episode like dumps on our laps, like that's an important part that's really missed.
There was like that one line.
They have talked before based off their conversation. And I wouldn't be surprised if they save a conversation like that for the Ahsoka series.
I guess, but like, I feel like for this to being the first time we see it on screen, like that's going to reduce the impact of it when it happens later.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a lost moment because it's like them standing together, like Joe was saying. It just felt like such just a scene. Like it was
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
it was more focused on Grogu's training, like, and it was just them together. And I'm like, oh, this is the first time these two characters have like shared a screen together. It's like for her to have such a history with the Skywalker family, it's just like, oh, this should have been like a oh shit, like
Yeah.
what? They're together.
She's basically his godmother, like
Yeah.
whether any of them realize it or not. But like
1000%.
but the other issue with it is like Luke shouldn't be the one like training new Jedi, like if anyone, and she shouldn't either because she doesn't want to. She stepped away from the whole thing. She's the one that actually knows like the dogma outside of wartime. Like she understands the order and what it's supposed to be. Luke was literally trained in the middle of a war. Like he didn't have the time to learn the philosophical elements of the whole Jedi Order stuff. It was like crammed down his throat over the course of 2 years.
And he broke most of the rules.
He did.
I'm not trying to like mind fuck you here, Joe, but everything you just said is right. But you have to understand that like it also leads to where he is in The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I understand. No, I understand perfectly. I'm speaking from like this is how it logically should be understood perspective. I know where it goes, and I love The Last Jedi. I love The Last Jedi so much.
I know it gets a lot of hate, but I love that.
It is of the sequel movies. It is my absolute favorite, and I do not tolerate the whole like Luke wouldn't do that bullshit because sometimes those people don't understand what trauma does to a human being, and Luke has been through so much trauma in his life that him being a hermited recluse makes absolute sense. Just 100% sense.
I was about to say his two mentors were hermited recluses.
Yeah,
like literally both of them.
his entire understanding of what it meant to be a Jedi is, oh well, when we mess up, we just hide.
Yeah. Facts.
When you put it that way.
No, that's a beautiful point to be made. But speaking of Luke and his bad teaching, we get a little Grogu montage, and Disney refusal to pay for feet. We see all of Grogu's body parts. We don't get no feet.
We're skipping over something though here. What about the frogs? Because like I swear, like when he did the frog thing, I swear, like I mean, this is so dark, but I was just waiting for him to like alienate the frog and just consume him and eat him and stuff.
No,
he tried. He tried.
Thank you for bringing up the frog part, Jazz, because that just kind of goes back to Luke being a dick teacher. Because like Grogu struggled with the one, and Luke was just like, "Yo, follow
like,
me.
Take me out. I got like all these frogs.
Look what you can do. Like, listen to me. Look what you can do."
Food is a great motivator. I'll say that much.
Yo, Grogu was looking like, "What the fuck? You just gonna stun on me like that?"
I don't know if I've ever seen Grogu's eyes wider. Like not, you get the lightsaber at the end, like those frogs.
I did love that. Like when he looks over, he's like,
he's like, "Who are you showing off for? It's just us. Like, what's going on here?
Let's feast."
Like, yeah, like you want half? Like, how we splitting these up?
I was already doing this, man. Just slower, just one at a time.
I love the part where they're like walking through the woods and Luke like has no patience for Grogu's little footsteps. So he keeps scooping them up.
The best. Best. I don't know whose idea that was, but they killed it.
It is really good.
Yeah.
The whole back and forth with Grogu and Luke, there's a lot I really love about it. The only thing I don't like is there is something about the lines that are written that feel like all they did for like 90% of Luke's lines were crack open fortune cookies and just modified them for the Force. Like all of them felt stilted and weird, and I know part of that could be because like Luke's not a teacher. Like he's basically like forced to be a teacher now,
regurgitating what he's heard before.
Yeah,
this also might sound weird, but it felt like there was a lot of Mark Hamill behind some of the dialogue. Like he said that Yoda like speaks in riddles. I just feel like that's not something that anyone would have like in the writing room would have said, but it sounds like something Mark Hamill had said.
Well,
felt a bit
size matters not, young Grogu.
I kind of feel like maybe like that's like some, I don't know, working together, if that makes sense. Like I feel like a lot of that, because there is some elements of it where like Yoda was a part of Luke's life for a year and a half, 2 years, and then just fucking vanished, of course, because apparently that's how he dies.
Literally vanished.
This kid is asking too many questions.
I'm out.
Forget to pick up my dry cleaning.
and the way the Jedi are, it's not like Luke probably had an opportunity to get to know Yoda as a person. So he just only got to know Yoda as his teacher and someone training him to be a child soldier.
Yeah.
So
Facts. And then like the whole first couple hours or how many days, because time on Dagobah, whatever it is. It's like he didn't even tell him it was him. He's like, oh yeah, Yoda, I know Yoda. That's my man's. You'll meet him eventually. So just lies. Luke's just been lied to his whole life.
I mean, isn't
by everyone?
I feel like that's a quote from somewhere. It's like the legacy of the Jedi is lies or something like that.
Essentially. But it's so fucked up, like with Luke's lies. It's like they're lies adjacent to the truth. It's like, I'm gonna send you with your real aunt and uncle, but I'm not gonna tell you anything about the rest of your family. But it's gonna be so easy for you to figure it out, but I'm gonna deny it. Like mind fucked. Trauma. So we kind of go through the training montage again. Luke, being a dick teacher, pulls out the blaster droid. At least he had a lightsaber to defend himself when Obi-Wan put him through that training on the Millennium Falcon.
Grogu is a tiny-sized creature, and canonically to the Pathfinder and D&D system, he has a +4 bonus to his armor class. He is a much harder target to hit. He's fine.
Not that first shot. That was pretty spot on.
After the first shot, though, I did write a few quotes down. Always get back up. And something that has like always been true about Star Wars is that like these lessons are for kids. Like I could totally see someone in the writer room being like, we need to teach lessons for people who maybe don't have people teaching them at home.
It's the Optimus Prime. It's the Optimus Prime effect, or the even the Captain America effect. I can do this all day, and stand up to bullies and all that jazz.
Hit us with it. Hit us with the note. I can do this all day.
This is a Star Spangled Banner.
I was trying to throw you the oop. I was like, come on, Jazz.
It's Rogers the musical.
Come on, this is your turn.
Hey man, I know my values. Nothing else really matters. So there you go.
There you go. That's what we love to hear.
But like, that's what bothers me about the Jedi is like they're supposed to be this constant like stand up for what's right and stand up for the people that can't stand up for themselves. Also abandon everything that makes you a person.
Yeah. Like care about everyone but love no one.
Something the dogmatic view of the Jedi.
Yeah.
What's the other line? Only a Sith deals in absolutes. And like that, that phrase is an absolute.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much. And then I will do what I must.
I thought trying was a good thing. They always say do or do not. There is no try. What if you try your best?
How do you ever know if you like new food if you don't try it first? I mean,
because you just do new food.
You just do it. You just eat it.
Are you saying Are we saying Jason Biggs never had apple pie before?
He just did it.
He did it. He just did it.
Literally.
He never knew if he would like that or not. He just did it.
He did the did. I mean, he did the do.
I like it the other way. He do.
Mountain Dew, come get us.
Yo,
everybody.
Sponsors for days.
I could drink Baja Blast for days.
There you go. So I really did love the conversation between like Ahsoka and Din, where he kept referring to him as like a Mandalorian foundling, and she was just like, "Well, what if he's a Padawan now?" Like, I thought that was really dope.
I feel like Din should have countered with, "Why can't he be both?"
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
Because what's the whole story of the Darksaber, which is an item that Din has in his possession? It's a symbol of a Mandalorian Jedi.
Yep. I was definitely waiting for that.
But
I did love.
Or is that where the story's headed?
That's kind of we'll get there. I did love the part where Ahsoka was saying like, "Yo, it's gonna be harder on him if he sees you," and Din's response is like, "But I flew all this way."
Yeah. My boy.
Space gas is expensive.
He's like, you're not giving me, you're not giving, yo, he was like, you giving me gas money, I'll leave.
But Grogu saw him anyway. You saw him take off in his
He
ship.
did.
So I mean,
Yeah,
And
he
if he's as
definitely tried to
powerful,
pull him back.
if he's as powerful in the Force as he is, you know, he probably knows it's him, even if he doesn't know that's what he's feeling. He's like, "Oh, Dad."
yeah, exactly.
He's like, I knew you were here the whole time.
And
Yeah,
you know,
I'll-
abandonment can't be good for the freaking training either.
Well,
Yeah, that's a
more,
look how
more
well that
trauma
look how
for
well that
the
turned
Jedi,
out.
you know?
Look how well abandonment turned out for the Skywalker clan. You think if anyone would have understood the need to see their father, it would have been those guys. But
Luke
Okay.
Skywalker always out here, never learning from his own lessons, man. Never
Dickhead
passing on the
teacher.
Very
knowledge.
true.
he's a dickhead teacher.
Okay, he may not be a dickhead. Let's just say he's bad at it. That's
All right,
that's at
we'll
least
give him-
very true.
He's the student teacher that can't get control of the class. I got you.
There, I mean,
Mark Hamill,
I-
we love you. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, no, we
it,
adore
it
Mark
is,
Hamill.
and Luke Skywalker is a fantastic
For
character,
Mark Hamill.
IRL and the characters he plays, even
Yes,
his Joker,
Absolutely.
even his Joker.
Chef's kiss.
I will say the only thing that I'm starting to realize is like this running concept in Star Wars, and it's done really well in almost all of them. It's a James Gunnism as well. He does it all the time. Is the effect of generational trauma and what it does to like cause like persistent damage to like everyone after it. Like it's not just sins of the father, it's like what that sin does to the father and the trauma it causes to the generations after.
So wait, are you saying that we're going to get David Hasselhoff here pretty soon in the universe for Star Wars?
I mean, he needs the
Hawkman
work
in the canyon.
probably.
Sorry, I couldn't pass that one up. I dropped the ball on the
No,
musical, so I had to go with that one.
you bounce
I
back
just-
good. For fourth quarter down 2 points, you drain that 3. We appreciate you.
Are we saying he's a Jedi Knight Rider?
Hey, yo, get out.
That was one pun too many, apparently.
No, I loved it. That was amazing.
It's a turbo boosted pun for your Force sake.
I'm with all of it. So we're about to move into something that I know Mike's been chomping at the bit to talk about. So we head back to Tatooine. Din does choose to do the Jedi thing. I won't even call it the right thing, the Jedi thing, and leave his gift for Grogu and not interact with them. So it doesn't make it harder for him to not love anyone, as the Jedi suggest that you do. And we get the introduction of a character that we've been clamoring for weeks. Mike, who finally shows their real face, not an animated face, but a real face.
Cad motherfucking Bane.
It's probably a little animated. It's probably like a
A
little.
teensy little bit animated.
Boy, did they do an amazing job. Because
There's people complaining about how he looks.
What?
Of course there is. There's always gonna be somebody
No,
complaining.
it's just like they're just like, how can we go from this amazing looking Luke to this really bad looking
to
Cad Bane? I'm like,
even
Cad
more
Bane-
amazing looking Cad Bane.
Cad Bane was a character designed literally for the CGI stuff. Like there is no live action equivalent of this character or his speed. Well, he's a Duros, correct?
Yeah, he's a Duros, yeah.
But like the unique aesthetics of his design even looks more unique than the standard Duros. And they did it so well.
They
Like,
killed it.
Oh,
they-
I've seen people do fan edits
Really did.
already, which is crazy how quick people turn stuff around. I mean, even as a graphic designer, I was pretty impressed at how quickly some people were able to do stuff, and they look good. But people also have to understand that everything like Cad Bane's appeared in, like Clone Wars and Bad Batch, he is like, that is such a stylized show.
Mhm.
When that stuff translates to live action, you got to breathe with it a little bit. I mean, it took me a while to get used to Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka too. Like it's not.
Yeah.
I could see people not being super happy with it, but I was legitimately intimidated by his
Yeah.
appearance. And I haven't felt that way since I saw Darth Maul in 1999.
Yeah, that's fair. That tiger pacing behind a blast shield.
Oh, what? That
Yeah.
scene, man.
love or hate Phantom Menace. That the whole Duel of the Fates is great, but that scene alone is like
Yeah.
visual
Obi
magic.
Obi-Wan trying to hurry up and get through for the blast.
He's
shield
like,
close.
all right,
Such,
all right, let's do
such
this.
Thing, such anxiety.
So much
Like, when
anxiety.
you watch
Dude,
Then
this
you got
series.
Qui-Gon in the middle, just like, all right, cool. I'm just gonna meditate.
Right,
This is
we're
where I'm
here
at.
now.
I'm
Can
cool.
I just walk you guys through my emotions real quick as someone who's just a huge fan
Please,
of Cad Bane?
please.
I'm
This is a
sick.
safe space.
I'm sitting down with my girlfriend and her dad. We're watching the show, and you know, I see a man walking through the heat in the desert.
It's
and
the
I just-
hat.
And it's the hat. It's the hat you see. And I just go, like, internally, oh fuck, that's
Yeah.
Cad Bane.
Yo.
And we're realizing, and I'm realizing, like, in that same moment where it's oh fuck Cad Bane, I'm saying, oh no, I love Cobb Vanth, and I don't think he's gonna walk away from this.
I think he is.
Like distraught. You're right. He definitely. I've watched it back like 5 times just to make sure.
He was like shot in the shoulder.
Yeah, simply
Now,
a flesh wound.
now his deputy
Oh,
is
yeah.
fucking dead.
Dead Pewdie.
Oh, he shot the sheriff and the deputy.
Ah.
I'm sorry, Jess. I'm so
back.
sorry.
We back. we actually got some action in the chat before we keep going. So Kyle 2.0 said he loves seeing Cad Bane. He's his favorite bounty hunter. People are complaining that his face was swollen because the prosthetic used to hide the nose. The nose was a bit bulbous, but
Who gives a shit?
who cares?
It looks really good.
He looked
Look,
amazing. And like
We've gotten some of the best alien effects in this series since
Yeah.
like the original Star Wars, you know,
Yeah.
like Chrysanthemum alone with his fuck me eyes. Come
So
on.
good.
Yeah.
So good.
Also, go back and first off, I feel like with the deepfake, the hardest thing to get is the mouth.
Yeah.
If Cad Bane's face is animatronic, holy shit, did they do a good job with his speech patterns? Like,
I don't.
and
I
also
think from like
Corey
the nose
Burton.
Gammon was real.
I don't know what they
it's-
do for his voice, but it's so good.
It's not just that, it's like the subtle gestures of his mouth,
Yeah.
like the snarls and the lip quiver when he's talking or something. It's
So-
just it's so
yeah.
good. It's so
So
good.
So good, so good. Someone else commented on Boba potentially being the person that saved Grogu in Order 66. Pit Media says Boba Fett would have only been around 13 or 14 at the time of Order 66.
Okay.
Still could have happened though. Still could have
It
happened.
could have, but it is
Teenage bounty hunter.
I would say
He
I
was
would say
bounty
that-
hunting.
I would say that makes it less likely, but not impossible, you know.
And
Right.
like I said, I just said that because it would kind of bring the book of Boba Fett full circle.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that would make that you know they do right by him because they just stole ripped the rug out from under his feet.
And it's not like
Yeah.
it was in response to anyone complaining about the show because it had to have been written ahead of time. So
Exactly. That was what Mike was saying. But yeah, but we get Cobb Vanth versus Cad Bane is a mouthful to say. Right? It's just a very hard sentence to work around. But we've been saying for weeks that the Pike isn't known to be fighters. They kind of like are behind the scene guys, and they had to have had some muscle behind them. So my question to the group is, do we think that Cad Bane is supposed to be the big bad of the show now, or is there even someone else behind the Pike that's maybe like even more orchestrating all of this?
I think the Pikes are the big bads. They're just hiring bounty hunters and muscle and whatever. Because I don't think it would be the Hutts. It's not the Hutts style to like leave and let someone else do it. Like they'll let someone else do it, but they'll stay there and watch it because they're Hutts.
Right.
And maybe take care of like when the aftermath is all said and done, everyone's weak, like swoop in. But
More or less just drop
kill one
in,
guy.
just literally just smother them as they're going through the road or something. But if anyone's above the Pikes, it's probably like Kira or some other crime lord that like,
That's what I'm still hoping for.
yeah.
Cause like the Pikes, like they're occupying Tatooine. There's like thousands and thousands and thousands of them, according to like the mod, the cyberpunks and everything. That there's like by the boatload, and they're still bringing in Cad Bane. So it's just like they're not menacing to me. Like the Pike Syndicate isn't scary. So it's like, yeah, bringing in Cad Bane, like, yeah, it's like, oh shit, they're not playing, but it's like it's still just one guy. So I'm like, what's this big war that I feel
there's
like
got to
they
be more
building?
behind them, right? Maybe
That's
there's
what I'm thinking.
and
yeah.
there's numbers, right? The Pikes have numbers, but
Yeah, like they may not be fighters, but like you get those numbers together, and it doesn't matter if you're good or like the episode where they were the Mandalorian episode where they were fighting off the bandits that had the freaking AT-AT at the little farming village
I
or
love
whatever.
that
Like,
episode.
yeah, it's such a great episode. But like two of the people in that town were actually good, and the rest of them were just like, all right, tactics, let's do this.
Stand here with stick point forward.
So I have a question for you guys. I've noticed that the Pikes have only arrived via public transport. Do they have their own operation on Tatooine that we're unaware of? Is that why? Do we think they have ships on Tatooine though? Like they could glass Mos Espa.
I don't think they would. Otherwise, I mean, I say that, but then like one of the scenes is them blowing up a bar for almost no reason.
That was my next point. I actually wanted to bring that up because so funny, Joe. When that scene happened, I immediately thought of you. I was like, "Oh, Joe's pissed."
I'm so mad. I'm so mad
because they were, and we talked about this. They were building up that character whose name it's not relevant to me anymore. But they made her seem like she was a big player in like the underground. Like she had her hands metaphorically and figuratively, because let's be real, that was a brothel.
Yeah.
like she
and she's someone that was like that was potentially sympathetic to Boba's cause too.
Yeah.
Like if he had brought her in more on like what he was trying to do, she probably would have been like, oh yeah, you mean bosses that aren't like complete monsters and assholes? Yeah, I'm down for that.
Yeah, absolutely. She was the Jacques Duquesne from Hawkeye of this show. Like
yeah,
absolutely.
They built her up to be like this thing, and it was like, nope, red herring. She was just very attractive.
Collateral damage.
Well, they got Jennifer Beals from Flashdance. You don't get Jennifer Beals from Flashdance unless you're going to do something with it, and then they decide not to do anything with it.
Yeah, that was that scene. Yeah, no. As soon as that bar blew up, I was just like, "Oh, Joe's pissed."
Are we really not going to talk about the blue elephant in the room?
Which blue? Oh, Max, no.
Did they kill Max Rebo again? I didn't
hear. It may have been his night off.
Max he's a pro of being and not being at the wrong place at the wrong time.
We're gonna see
back in the room. He's like
the last episode. The last episode, we're gonna see it fade out, and we're just gonna see Max Rebo will return on the
coming out of the rubble.
I like it. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, but no, Max wasn't there. I feel like his whole band was there, and he's like, "Fuck, I just start over again."
They showed everyone but him. I literally went through the scene 3 times.
Or you could have done like a Ninja Turtle thing and had it be like Shredder's hand coming out.
No, that's what I'm saying. Coming out of
his weird little blue.
That being said, like I think there is a chance some people can survive from it. And Boba's got a big old bacta tank that's not occupied anymore. So granted, I am not a demolitionist, but the explosion seemed to go outward and the droid was closer to the door. That establishment is no good anymore, but she was a little farther back, so she might survive.
It was a deep building, and being a brothel, I assumed it had back rooms. So that's a very good point.
Like the explosion went out the front door, and she's facing the front door.
And technically, the droid is a slight bit of a buffer between her and the explosion too.
I didn't think about that, but he could have shielded her a little bit, or who knows? Like maybe the first opening scene will be someone swooping in and saving her.
Enough to survive, but not enough to get out unscathed.
Exactly.
Yeah. I can see her like dying on a back to deathbed with some info, right?
Yeah.
Like her last.
But see, if they make like, oh, her death is the straw that broke the camel's back thing, like that's also really frustrating because I don't either. Like that, that's just a bad trope in general. But B, it's like why? Like I get that like she was a pretty cool character and stuff, but there's no stake that they built for Boba. You know what I mean? To make it the straw that broke the camel's back. Like I love her as a character. She's a great character, but like, why? Other than bad writing, because that happens all the time.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing that goes on. So, but we shall see. So, we did kind of skip over a part because in my mind it wasn't really worth mentioning. We get the real boss, Fennec Shan, running a town meeting. With Boba's Avengers, the Bovengers, kind of was meeting around.
Look, he's the CEO. He's the CEO. She's the communications major that has 20 years of public speaking experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And we finally get in 2 episodes, we get to see the titular character of Boba Fett who doesn't even have a line of dialogue in this
He
scene.
nods.
He
He
does nod.
nods.
He convincingly nods.
Please
Him and
speak freely.
him and him and Din have a interaction of sup, brother. Like it's pretty much how that was.
Yeah.
But we me and Mike talked about this earlier before, but Phoenix talking about we got Din, we got Chris Hansen, we're good on the muscle front. No, you're not.
Like, okay, if it's like gonna end up being like a shootout with like 7 guys in the street, yeah, you're probably good on the muscle front. But they got like an army.
Yeah.
A legit army.
And they do not have a whole. Sorry,
no,
they don't.
No, they don't. They have a Chrysanthemum, and he's close, but he's like half Hulk.
They in fact have no green aliens on the squad. This could be a problem.
No, none.
But the citizens of Mos Pelgo are definitely pissed. Oh, Freetown. I'm sorry.
They might. Hey, see, you say that, but we got one more episode. They might end up with a green alien on the squad.
I was gonna say, what if Grogu comes and saves the day?
Well, I mean, it could be like people are looking for a reason for Luke to get involved. He's not going to want to get involved with Boba, but if he's delivering, Grogu to Tatooine to take him to Din, and there's a war going on, Luke's like, well, now it's my problem.
It is his home too. Like I know that, like, obviously, but I mean, Luke has always struggled with his attachments, right? Like it's never been something that like he's not trying to get rid of for himself. So I could see him feeling the need to step in. Oh, absolutely.
No. Beautiful transition to the end of this episode.
That one quote that he gave to Grogu, I just went right back to that when he said the word attachments.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry, have you called your sister this week? That's an attachment. You dick.
He just got off the phone with her. He's like, I gotta go. I gotta teach.
This is why R2 keeps turning himself off, because Luke can't have attachments.
He's just so tired. R2's like, I'm so tired of carrying this entire rebellion.
He said, bro, I haven't been charged in 6 movies. Like, I'm tired.
My dude. At least when we were on Tatooine, I had so much sunlight. 2 of them.
Right. Mad solar energy. I was cool. I was high off my ass on sun juice.
On sun spice.
Yep, there you go. There you go. But speaking of Luke and being a dickhead teacher, we get a closing scene where it is revealed that somehow Din then took a stop at Middle Earth and got Grogu some mithril threads.
Yeah.
Who knew? Who knew?
He got Grogu a little mithril onesie.
Yeah, who knew that speed was that fast? Like it went that quick. And my man stopped off, like got some mithril threads.
It was some of that Jedi magic stuff that it just happens.
Yeah. Totally.
With all the frogs, and
it's the will of the Force. It's the will of the Force.
He Doctor Stranged it. He's like, and gift for you. So Luke sits him down and he's just like, hey, dickhead teacher, your dad was here. He didn't come see you, but he was here. And he left you a gift.
Luke, you have daddy issues as it is, and you're doing this to that kid.
Right.
So here's why I say Luke's a dickhead teacher, and we'll wrap it up with this. So he gives Grogu an ultimatum. Only Siths deal in absolutes. And he says, hey, you can pick the gift that your dad, the man that you love, who saved you, that you've been with your whole life.
And it was precious. We found out what it actually was. It was
armor. Chain shirt.
Yep. It was a chain shirt for protection. And he was just like, or I could give you this cool lightsaber that belonged to my master. He was kind of shitting on Obi-Wan this whole episode. He kept kind of name dropping Yoda as my master. Like,
well, Yoda is officially the one that taught him everything he knew, like for the most part.
That's true, but Ben was shooting with him in the gym. He was there. He had creds.
Ben literally gave him a laser sword and said, "Block laser bolts from this thing blind. Go."
and shoot in that hole. Like, he gave him some good advice.
Just do what I fucking say, kid. Just do what I fucking say.
You switched off your targeting computer. What's wrong? Oh shit, nothing. I'm all right.
I can't shake him. But yeah,
in the abridged version, it would be like you turn off your targeting computer. I'm sorry, do I get any privacy out here on the battlefield?
All right. You got me bugged. What the fuck? So he lays down the mithril threads that came from Din, the gift from his father, who he loves with all his heart. And then he presents him with Master Yoda's old lightsaber. And he's just like, hey, you can take the threads and go back with your father, who you love with all your heart, or fuck them parents. You can stay here with me, and I'll give you this cool
Fuck
laser
them
sword.
Mandos.
Fuck the Mandos to give you this cool laser sword to play with. And the episode ends there. But the reason why I say that licks a lick. Whoa, Luke's a
Whoa.
dickhead. Luke's a dickhead teacher. If we harken back to Empire Strikes Back, Luke was given a choice to either stay and train or go help your friends. Not only did he go help his friends, but his ass came back to train. He literally chose both options.
Yep.
He had his cake and he ate
Ate
it
it
too.
too.
He ate
Old
it.
El
Yeah.
Paso did. Why not?
He saved the spiders and the butterflies. Sorry.
Yes, exactly. But then tells Grogu, like, yeah, no, go back with your friends or stay with me. Basically, the Yoda ultimatum they gave him, in which he just did both things. And which leads us to Joe's point, and that'll lead us to like our final predictions of what would happen. We do know that the dark saber was created by a Mandalorian who also happened to be a Jedi. So it is very plausible that Grogu could do both of these things. But final predictions for this before we get the last episode next week. Does Grogu stay or does he go? Mikey, what you thinking?
I think he goes, but I also think that this is a test that Luke is doing, and not so much for the audience. It's an ultimatum to create some tension, but I do think that it is more of a test than a closing the door to one or the other option.
Because he's a dick.
Yeah, but I do like the
dick.
connections that have been brought up about like the darksaber being forged by a Mandalorian Jedi. Like I could totally see things going down that path, and maybe the darksaber one day being wielded by Grogu.
That would be awesome. That's kind of I'm gonna just kind of echo that and forego my turn because I agree with that wholeheartedly. That I feel like it's being played that Din isn't gonna be the wield of the dark saber, and I don't even think he really wants it. That's not really his steez. And Bo-Katan is trash, and she doesn't need to have it either.
let's consider something though. If Grogu is going to wield the darksaber, how is he going to wield the darksaber? It's not about size either that I'm commenting. It's how is he going to get it?
Oh, damn. Very good point.
Because Din, if Din believes the whole religious elements of that blade, he's not just going to let Grogu have it because that's going to cause the blade to be a curse.
I mean, but him technically now being an apostate, according to the Death
he
Watch,
was an apostate that still was like, weapons are my religion.
True. But
Din
what I
can
was
still
saying
lose
is,
it in battle, and then Grogu could redeem him by defeating whoever defeats Din.
And that's possible.
yeah. But what
That's
I
the
was
only way
going
I
to
see
say
it go
is,
down.
if he was kicked out of the religion, does he still have to abide by their rules? Like,
There are
does he
plenty of
still-
people that are excommunicated from the church that still follow the dogma.
Earth, am I right?
Yeah.
But Jazz, what do you foresee happening in episode 7?
I mean, so my opinion has changed on this within the talking with the panel. You know, I do kind of feel like Grogu's gonna go at this point.
Yeah, that seems to be, and that would also make sense as to why he isn't around for like the sequel trilogy. Like if he doesn't choose to become a Jedi, that makes sense.
See,
Like,
I
him
didn't
just
even think about
going
that connection either. I went back to that whole, you know, Luke being a dick and basically showing him his traumatic life up until now.
Yeah.
He said, yo, you thought your life was cool? Remember
It's like,
this?
you know what? If the Jedi are just assholes, maybe I don't want to be a part of this.
Right.
My dad loves me. He melted an ancient artifact to make that for me.
Facts.
Should
Word,
I stay or should I go now?
That hurt my heart that he gave up that Beskar spear.
That spear was so cool.
Keep it.
When he's walking into the freaking meat shop with the freaking spear, the sword, and his guns, I'm like, yes.
Also,
Anyway.
you know that the armorer only said that about the spear because like someone
she was
back-
jealous.
someone back in the past was like, oh shit, Beskar can pierce Beskar. Shouldn't be making weapons like that because someone might stab me in the back.
Yeah.
So I kind of think that he's gonna go, but I think something we're seeing about the Mandalorian and stuff like that, and in wider too, Book of Boba Fett, is that you can change your fate and you can change like destiny, and it's not a prescribed concept, because Boba Fett's changing his fate. He's like, I'm not going to die as some shitty bounty hunter that was sent to get killed on the sands of Tatooine by a dumbass crime lord. Again, I'm done with that.
It's Freetown, Joe.
What's up?
Freetown.
He's not in Freetown. He's not in Freetown. Okay?
It's all Freetown.
It might be one day.
Connecting the themes of Boba Fett back to the 2 episodes that have nothing to do with Boba Fett.
But it's not just that.
It's worked in a Knight's Tale reference. Look at the range, changing your stars.
But it's not just that. Changing our stars. You mean Alan Tudyk, the voice of K2SO?
Damn,
Anyway,
Joe really is the best of us. Shit.
Look, you see what I'm saying?
It's not just that, but like in the last episode, it was all about changing fates, because Mando finally got back to the rest of the Mandalorians, found out the whole destiny of the sword and everything else, and then was booted out unceremoniously. He has the dark saber. He is literally the most iconic weapon the Mandalorians has ever forged, and he can't even still be a part of his family. So yeah. He moves on and gets a new ship. And when he gets a new ship, it is a ship that basically tells you, you can't be a bounty hunter anymore. Where are you going to cram a bounty in this stupid thing?
The empty hollowed out droid pod.
That's right. Where you have to cut the body up and then shove it.
I was about to say, that's why he's going for heads now.
Okay, so he's basically saying he's basically saying that, okay, from here on out, I can only get half bounties. That's okay. I'll deal with that. But that pod is the perfect size for a little Grogu. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, there you go.
I think what we're going to see is between Mandalorian and Grogu and Boba Fett is the whole premise of these shows is changing our fate and changing our destiny. And we are not locked into what this is, which is a trend, a theme that I think the sequel trilogy also had, is because The Last Jedi, the whole premise at the end is like the Jedi are more than what the Jedi were, because to the people, they're a symbol of hope. So the dogma, the religion, the faith, none of that actually matters. What matters is what it means to the people that the Jedi fight for. That's all that should matter. And I think that's something that we're going to see a massive trend through the remainder of Star Wars stuff. I mean, the Bad Batch is all about that. They're a black ops squad for clones, and we know how that goes, and yet they don't go that way. They become my 5 dads. And it instead of being these guys that are literally just going to go kill all the Jedi and like blindly follow the Empire because that's what the rest of the clones have to do, they're like, we're going to try and find something better. Shand is finding something better. Boba's finding something better. Like, this whole thing is Star Wars is like resistant to change. The fandom is resistant to change. This whole show is about change, and it's painful and it hurts, but it's important to still have.
I can't think of a much better way to end this episode than that.
You made me feel even better about The Rise of Skywalker, and you didn't even mention it.
I know. I'm about to go back and watch it.
Like I did earlier, and I still don't even hate that movie. It's
I'm just like, he's making all these connections, and I'm like,
Kylo Ren / Ben Solo in that list of yours about changing your destiny.
And he does.
Yeah. Twice.
Which, by the way,
Rise of Palpatine, and she's like, I can change my destiny too. Shit.
And which, by the way, the whole thing where he pulls the lightsaber and then does the shrug is like one of the best scenes of that whole movie.
Absolutely, 100%.
Because I didn't even have to see someone do the GIF comparison. Like, that's the Return of the Jedi Han shrug.
Yep. Even the no-look shot when he had the blaster and everything.
His dad would be so proud.
Absolutely.
Han's out there wherever non-force sensitive ghost goes, like, my son's little dick to his enemies. I love it.
Just like his uncle.
I was gonna say.
But we have been the Book of Boba Fett panel, and we have one more episode with you guys. And boys, it's probably going to be a doozy. I'm feeling endgame style battle coming here.
Those are some big words coming from you, sir.
I'm calling it now. We're gonna see a Lord of the Rings, Two Towers type scenes where the Pikes is gonna be coming down on everybody. All hope will seem lost, and then we're gonna see the Tusken wizard dress show back up because we never saw her dead body, and she's gonna do her little yell, and she then went and collected all the other Tuscans.
And Freetown probably went and
Freetown, yes,
got some of their
Freetown
Tuscan
too.
friends.
Exactly. And they're just all just gonna storm, and Gandalf's is gonna be like, to the king, and then we just gonna rock out, and it's gonna be glorious. But that has been our time. As always, when I do these things, I run over. You know, rebel without a cause, rebel without a watch. That's what we're gonna call it. So
I dig it.
I have been your host, Mr. Porter Matty Ice. You can find me on Instagram _menace to sobriety, and we can finally talk about it. Dragon Ball for Life, the podcast. It's out. DB, what's the IG name?
DB, the number 4L _pod. And you can find us on Twitter and Instagram. I'm not on the show, but I produce it. So please like and follow on Instagram, Twitter, and go check us out. We'll be dropping the first episode soon.
My dear Princess Jazzy, where can they find you? You can find me on Instagram at Rose City Widow, and check out, my acapella singing group, Honeybees Sing, on Instagram. Also, Vancouver Master Chorale on Instagram and Facebook. Love it. And Joe, the best of us, where can they find you, sir?
You can find me lots of places where I'm at the Spice Must Joe. I'm on Twitter and TikTok and other things. I'm on LinkedIn where I'm not at the Spice Must Joe. I'm just Joseph Davis. You can even find my muck rack if you look hard enough for it. Where all my Fandom Spotlite articles can be found in one easy location that links you back to the website.
Talk about your D&D thing.
Oh crap, I completely forgot. I'm on a podcast called The Rollmongers, and we're currently playing Pathfinder 2nd Edition, but there's more things in future, including maybe some Star Wars stuff. Who knows?
Who knows? But we will see you guys back here next week for one more episode. But until that time, always and forever, follow your fandom.